Oh my, it is that time again. Welcome everyone. It's Iron. It is Joe over there in the corner in the studio. This is Wild and Weird Radio Live, and we have a special guest tonight that we'll be bringing in here in just shortly. Everybody's going to be getting their questions ready for Stan Gordon. He is going to be here, and we're going to be talking about some high strangeness and other weird things that you guys have been seeing as well, because things are on the uptick, it kind of seems, right, Joe? And we got other things happening.
They are on the uptick, among other things. We have a lot going on right now. Next week's going to be a very busy week. Yeah. So it's, I think, kind of building up and ramping up towards what's coming.
Yeah, isn't it weird, though, how that kind of just kind of flows with everything? I mean, that is kind of odd. You got to admit, like, almost seems
it is
synchronized, doesn't it? It's just kind of strange.
All right, so let's get these guys greeted in. We got Vincent Ellison, we've got L.R. Miller, Donna Hobe, West Virginia Bigfoot Project, James Nelson, Eyes in the Woods, Enzo is here, Vincent again, Jordan Booker, what's going on, Jordan? We've got Nancy White, Gary Schuler, L.W. Marshall, what's going on, brother? I'm sending you over that audio track tonight.
LW just kicked the doors in there with a blessing, a big one.
Beth's in the house. Jen's in the house. We got Octoman.
You know what,
LW, brother.
I'm gonna tell you what, LW. This is for real, okay? That blessing right there, that's gonna go to something really, really good. And for doing that, I think we're going to send you a set of these. What do you think, Joe?
A set of the cards will be good. I think. He's coming to Mothman. So
we'll just bring them, right? So Anyway, here's the new thing that we did with some of the funding that you guys give us, right? So we made some cards. They're original art. No AI here. This is all me. And look, there's all kinds of really cool stuff. Now they're blank on the backs, but they're just novelty kind of cards. But what's neat about them is they actually have our research data on them, guys. So you got a little research card there. So when you meet those people who are like, oh, that's bull crap, all you gotta do is pull this little card out and say, here, there you go. But you got 18? I think there's 18 cards. I don't remember how many cards there are, but look, that's us. See here. The UFO.
That's actually on the set of Paranormal Horizon.
It is
filming in the Tennessee area.
Yeah, wait, there's some really rare ones in here too. Look, Joe. Look, there's the orbs, the orb identification card right there for you. So you got the orb identification card. You got, look here, Joe. There's another one, right?
Oh, there's the truck.
There's the truck with the beams. Yeah. Look,
Glowing Joe.
That's it. The origin of Glowing Joe right here. You got your own card that talks about it and how it happened. And I told you you'd like them. And everybody wanted this thing for years. So now you got a little miniature version of it. That's
there you go.
That Mothman painting everybody wanted. Yeah, you got a little ancient alien stuff going on there. See, there's all kinds of stuff. Anything we touched upon, it's there. So I'm trying to get to the really good card here. Hang on. Oh, I found it.
Oh, look at that.
Now that card right there is worth the whole pack. Okay.
I think so. Those are actual aliens on film right there.
Right. So anyway, you guys, that is the Wild and Weird Radio card set. And
Glowing Joe's, Keller said Glowing Joe's, or asked if Glowing Joe's origin story was Walmart shrimp.
Walmart shrimp, man.
Plus 5 rads.
That's what it is. Get everybody in. I just wanted to make sure that you guys saw those.
We got them. We're caught up now.
Okay. Well, those are going to be available at Mothman. So anybody who wants them, come on down. We'll have some of those. They're limited, very limited. So, and they come just like you see. we spared no expense. You know,
those are protectors, so you can't ding and bend and mess up the corner.
They're actually double protected. I actually put them inside the little soft sleeves inside these, so they're protected, and we will sign them. And there you go. I mean, for all that's worth, but the art on them's cool.
Enzo said, "Can you mix those with the new Zinner cards for a level 2 psychics?"
Now the Zinner cards are going to be a little bit more robust, so they will be double printed. They're front and back, and actual really good
Scott
cards.
made it. What's going on, Scott?
Here. All right. Well, Joe, what happened recently here over the weekend? Do we have anything exciting after I got back? Everything good?
There was Gary Nolan had a good interview with Joe Rogan.
That's right.
The first hour and 20 minutes was all about Gary's cancer research, and then they got into some more on topic for us categories, which was extremely interesting. They talked about the Atacama mummy and some of the other mummies for about half an hour, which was a really good little talk. I enjoyed it. Highly recommend to go check out the Joe Rogan Gary Nolan experience there.
It kind of sounded like he kind of agreed with what I had said before, that they kind of mixed two things up, and
they did.
Then he's like, it's too weird, I don't want to touch it because you don't want to do it scientifically. So he was out. You know what's really weird about that though? Him being out and all that stuff. Guess who was on the season finale of Skinwalker Ranch?
Oh yeah, that's what you said. He was in on Skinwalker Ranch.
He was in on Skinwalker Ranch. So this brings up something very, that turns the heat up. Yeah, it really does. There was something there that he was very excited about and very interested in. So we're gonna have to wait till next year probably to hear more about that. But he did it. So I don't know. We'll see what that means.
It'll be interesting, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
But as far as like major news, there was that, and then the announcement about the upcoming hearing on the 9th.
That's right. The hearing is coming up, and we where's that clip at? It's here somewhere. Here it is.
It is Jeff Nucatelli, U.S. Air Force veteran. He was one of the witnesses for the Vandenberg Air Force encounter, which involved the massive red cube that we talked about a few weeks ago. Chief Alejandro Wiggins. He's going to be speaking about this. George Knapp. Major twist here.
Yeah.
And Dylan Borland. Dylan Borland was also another U.S. Air Force veteran here, and he was witness to another UFO. Yeah. It's very, very interesting. The fact that now we have U.S. Air Force people coming out. It was one of the things I mentioned back when Grush came out, that the Air Force people just have been hush hush.
Yeah. Well, you saw the guy who was on the recent Weaponized. Yeah. That was at NORAD.
It was.
And he saw this thing from what did you say? It was 3 miles away, or no, 6 miles away. 6 miles away, and it was 300 feet round with the actual structure. It was a huge disc. Interesting. I don't know if you caught it or not. What he was saying, he said that or no, it was Ross Colhart he was on with. I'm sorry, it wasn't George. It was Ross Colhart. Strike that. But he said that Ross had asked him about this other time that these sightings occurred when tensions were high between the United States and Russia, because that was back, I believe, during the I don't know if it was I don't know. It was back in the 80s. It's during the Cold War, height of the Cold War. And he said that it was the highest DEF CON that we'd ever gone to. And I don't know if you caught him when he said that. This was the day that the Ukrainian invasion happened. And they were getting briefed on that. And he said, did you have anything that you could share about the defense condition that day or whatever? And he said, no, not that I can talk about. And that kind of raises some questions, doesn't it? Especially with this UFO and nuke watchdog kind of thing, makes you wonder. Vincent, thank you so much.
Thanks, Vincent. Oz says these hearings are getting old. George Knapp is the GOAT, but these dribbles aren't getting us anywhere. The government won't give us disclosure. This community will. Well, there is a fail-safe in place, apparently.
That's what we've heard.
And Jeremy Corbell said on a recent interview that he has 4 witnesses lined up ready to drop their story if they're denied, or if the story doesn't come out. He's going to drop them himself.
Man, I'm telling you, it's right what we said. It's going to come one way or the other, and that's where we at, folks. Let's not wait any longer. Let's get our special guest on here. I'm sure he's got things to do out there.
Oh yeah,
chasing down UFOs and Bigfoots and orbs and everything else, which is what he's been doing for decades. I'm sorry, decades at this point. So with no further ado, I will be relaying Joe's message because we're only on audio with Stan. So if you have questions for Stan, type them in and we'll get to them. And if Joe has questions, I'll relay it to Stan from there. But everybody's going to be able to hear everybody in some way, shape, or form. We will make this work. Everyone, please welcome Stan Gordon to the show. Stan,
good evening, everyone. Joe, thanks for having me back on the program.
Oh, absolutely.
Always a pleasure.
Make sure everybody can hear that. Everybody good? You guys can hear him?
Oh, yeah. Everybody's got that audio. It sounds good.
Okay, great. Folks, I'm just going to let Stan go over a little brief introduction, and then we're going to start talking about some stuff, and you can talk about some stuff and bring up some questions, but we're probably going to go into a lot of high strangeness stuff tonight. So almost everything's on topic, right, Joe?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. All right, Stan, you got the floor.
Well, once again, thanks for having me back on the program. And yep, been doing this for a long, long time. As you know, this year marks 66 years of research. I've been out in the field since 1965, investigating ever since the Kecksburg incident. And I've interviewed thousands and thousands of UFO witnesses, or UAP as the government calls them now, hundreds of Bigfoot and cryptid witnesses, including many even in recent weeks and months. And it's just amazing what's going on here in Pennsylvania. But it's, from what I'm hearing from many other researchers, there's a lot of weird things going on all across the country. And the more I know about what we're dealing with, I think you probably feel the same way, the stranger it is. I've learned a lot over the years. I don't think anybody, including the government, really has an idea what we're dealing with. It is so strange. It is so bizarre. It apparently is so beyond our present scientific understanding that nobody can really deal with it right now or understand it. But it's happening, and I'm sure some of your listeners tonight are aware of some of these cases and experiences. And I think one of the most interesting aspects of the various anomalies we're dealing with are these increasing reports of these orbs, these small balls of light, not just high altitude reports, but the numerous reports now of these things very close to the ground, coming up in daylight within a few feet of people, and even reports these things actually on the ground over the past years. A lot of this is taking place, by the way, in daylight and under beautiful weather conditions. So we're not talking about ball lightning, we're talking about something which is much, much stranger. And there are so many cases. I think probably one of the cases, I'm pretty sure I sent over that report to you, involved the incident that happened north of Pittsburgh very recently. And that's quite an interesting report. And then we have one that's even more recent. But this one in particular, you'll hear me bring up Jim Brown's name. And Ron, you recall meeting Jim at the Kecksburg UFO Festival. He's a real high-tech, very intelligent, skeptical but open-minded researcher. He builds some of the best instrumentation out there to investigate all these various types of paranormal events. And he had let us know that day that he had gotten information on this particular case. And this one actually is north of Pittsburgh in Beaver County. But it was an interesting day. It was July 17th of this year. I had received a report early that same morning, but this took place on a rural road in Westmoreland County, around 25 miles southeast of Pittsburgh. And this man called me and he said he was still shaken by what had occurred. It was a very nice morning. He's riding down this road when suddenly, he said, this huge, solid, large shadow appeared right above his vehicle. And then moments later, and right in front of him, moving straight down the center of the road, was a solid shadow of 100-foot long, flat, football-shaped object moving slow and steadily. He heard no sound. He tried to bend down as best he could to look out the window to see what was above him, but he couldn't see it. And seconds later, the shadow was gone. So he hurried down the road and turned around to get a good, clear view of the sky. Whatever was there was gone. So that was interesting. But it was a little later in the afternoon when Jim Brown received this report. It was also on the same date. And this occurred around 2:33 p.m. in the afternoon. And the whole report's on my website. You can go to stangordon.info and read it. But just the basics are, it was around 80 degrees, moderate humidity, and it had rained a little bit earlier in the day, and the woman decided to go out to dig in her garden because it's been so dry around here, so she thought the ground would be a little softer. And she's out there, and she notices just a short distance away, I think about 5 feet above the sidewalk, was this small sphere. And this object was, I believe, about a foot or so in diameter, about 12 inches in diameter. And it was, I'm trying to see if I have some of this report here. I don't have the whole thing. But anyhow, the interesting thing was that this thing appears to be luminous. It's self-luminous. It's slowly beginning to move in her direction. It comes directly up to her within inches and then actually physically makes contact with her chest. And at that point, it's kind of, she says, kind of nudging on her, and she's moving back, and she lost her balance and fell backwards and watches this thing, rose above her, and then was gone. So it's a really, really interesting case because these are the kind of things that are going on more and more that very few people are even aware of. And then, even more recently, I received a report. This occurred August 25th. So this is between the border of Westmoreland and Fayette County, both very active areas, especially areas along the Chestnut Ridge in both counties. Year after year, a lot of weird phenomena, UFOs, Bigfoot, orbs, cryptids, all kind of weird things year after year, including a lot this year. And this happened around 5 o'clock in the morning. This fellow was getting up for work, as they always did around that time. He's just waking up. He's walking down the hallway. He closes the master bedroom door, but across the hall was another door was open in another room that they use. And what he sees, he said this thing it's a 10 by 10 room. And he sees about 8 to 10 feet away from him, this round ball of light about 10 to 12 inches in diameter, just hovering there in that room, right by the window, about 3 to 4 feet above the floor. It's kind of a whitish gray in color, seems to be somewhat translucent, especially in the outer edges. But what's interesting was there were pulses of what looked like static electricity or lightning bolts that were whitish blue in color, and they were emitting from the object mainly from around the center area. And he only saw it for seconds. He got a very good look at it, and then it just physically disappeared. And moments later, now there was covering on the windows in there, and apparently this thing was now outside, right next to the window outside, and that whole area was glowing. It was not glowing bright inside the house, but that area outside was now all glowing. So he heard me, went to the back door. There's very little traffic around there, especially at 5 o'clock in the morning. And he looked out, there was no vehicles around. As soon as he opened the door, everything went dark. But that's all we know about it. He said also, interestingly, the cat in the house, their pet, it has a tradition. It gets up every morning when it hears him, when he's making his coffee, because it gives the cat a treat. That morning, the cat refused to come out and was hiding in the kitchen during that time. So that was kind of an interesting thing. That is just an example of some of the things, and there are many, many other cases we can talk about in recent months in the last few years are just incredible.
Wow. And yeah, I was there when that report, you guys were sharing that report. That is amazing. Yeah, I think it's one of the first that I've actually heard that involved a possible, someone touching this thing, like up close, or it actually touching them. But yeah, and that's coming through right now. That's we were talking about there not too long ago. They're kind of bringing this up again, that there are these incidents where close exposure, you don't want to get too close to some of these things, apparently, is what we've been hearing echoed now. I think Nolan was saying that, right, Joe?
Right, he was.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it's kind of, it's kind of that kind of situation where it's interesting from a distance, I should say, but close proximity seems to be where we don't necessarily want to be around some of these things. Would you?
That's very, very true. I was familiar with these reports going back to the 1960s. I first heard about these cases, and for years I called them mini UFOs. And over the years, we're getting more reports, but in the last several years, we're getting a big increase in these reports and good quality reports coming in from across Pennsylvania. I've also heard many reports from many other states as well, from other researchers or witnesses, and there's a lot of similarities to it. And yes, we're hearing more about physiological effects. I think you'll remember, Ron, when you were at the Kexford Festival, you got to meet Tom, who's a very reputable, experienced Bigfoot researcher, who's associated with Eric Altman for the Pennsylvania Bigfoot Society. And you might be aware of this. Some of the other listeners may have heard about this, actually seen some of this now that's out there on YouTube. But I believe it was 3 years ago. Eric and Tom and a group of other researchers were up in this area. They call it basically the Area X of Pennsylvania, up in Fayette County. It has a lot of weird phenomena going on. They just uncovered it several years ago when they were investigating some Bigfoot activity near that area, and came across this location, which is, again, very, very deeply wooded area, very hard to access even with big trucks. I've been up there. It's a very, very strange area, I can tell you. But anyhow, on that particular night, you had a number of different groups up there of experienced researchers, a lot of them, and they were reporting multiple orbs of light coming out of the woods. And Tom, that you met, who I consider to be very, very credible, he's now talked about this more publicly. But as he's out there that evening, here comes this small orb approaches him. He thought at first it was one of the researchers with a bright flashlight coming closer to him, then realized it wasn't. And it got to within a few feet of him. And now I don't have all the details right here in front of me, but I believe it was within a relatively short time, I believe it was around a week or so, week or two after that experience, that he sustained very serious eye damage. There was eye bleeds, he had surgeries, and it's a very interesting case. I think Tom actually talked to you about it as well. Yeah. And he may have even showed you, he has some of the x-rays of the eye conditioning.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And it's very intriguing. Apparently his eye doctor also is kind of stumped by what caused this. It was something very unusual, and he thinks there's a very good chance it was related to it. Mm-hmm. And I can tell you, back in 2022, we had the biggest surge of these cases. Again, you can go on my website and you can go back and read some of those reports from them. And amazing reports from all over the state. It was the biggest surge of these cases ever documented. We had reports of them on the ground, very close to people. In October of 2022, up in Fayette County, Jim Brown investigated a case where early morning, this fella was found sound asleep on the porch in the cold weather in his pajamas, which he would never do. His wife found him out there sleeping. When he was awakened, he told her he was going out to get the newspaper that just been delivered, when this small sphere was very close to him, between him and the box, the newspaper box. And as he got near it, he got suddenly so tired he couldn't stay awake. And interestingly, 3 days later, outside of Ligonier, PA, so you've got this very active area, the Chestnut Ridge, and you got a section of it not far from Ligonier. Then on the other side of Ligonier, you go into the Laurel Ridge, which also has a lot of history of weird phenomena. Orbs, Bigfoot, UFOs, cryptids as well, especially in this one particular area. And this woman, 2:30 in the morning, 3 days later, got up to go to the restroom. She comes out of her home. She has one of those old historical homes near Ligonier. And 5 feet away, hovering in the living room is this, I believe, about a 1.5 foot diameter, dark blue sphere with some type of a mass inside moving around it. She remembered, told me, she said, I took one step towards it. I felt like a slight electrical jolt. And moments later, she said, I got so tired, I couldn't stay awake. The next day, she said she felt very sickly, very weak. But she said, I'm an insomniac. I don't fall asleep like that. So interestingly, we had that physiological effect similar, but we're hearing different types of effects with some of these reports, not all of them. And so it's something definitely of interest. I truly believe this is one of the most important part of the UFO UAP mystery that you're beginning to hear more about on a lot of the talk shows and radio and TV in some cases, but it's something that for example, you're not hearing a lot of talk about these low-level reports. You're hearing a lot of high-level, high-altitude sightings of orbs, but you're not hearing about these low-level, close-range reports. I think this is very, very significant and one of the most important part of the UFO UAP mystery that needs a lot more serious attention.
Oh, absolutely. Joe, how many questions we got over there? I see a lot of them are
we got them stacking up, so we need to get
let's go for
questions here.
Question for Stan, Eyes in the Woods. Captured an audio that sounded like a deep, low-frequency howl that chimed in with coyotes, but the coyote call morphed into a barred owl call. It seemed like the same call. Have you heard of this before?
Oh, yeah, I have. I think you may have as well.
Yep.
Over the years, I've heard a lot of vocalizations, recordings from different people, talked to other researchers that are having these type of things going on. Yeah, I mean, we've had these kind of reports of long vocalizations that seem to change from one type of creature, such as a coyote or an owl, into something else. And very, very intriguing. You know, something I learned back in 1973 when we had the biggest UFO Bigfoot outbreak in history anywhere in the country, when I had teams of scientists and engineers and researchers investigating all these sightings across Pennsylvania, when there was so much going on and the law enforcement was calling my teams out to investigate these incidents. And that's when I began to realize that Bigfoot was much stranger than just an unknown primate, which is what I thought they were when I was out there in the 60s investigating Bigfoot sightings. And there was a lot of interesting details that showed up. One of them was the fact that, there was various vocalizations we knew these creatures made. One was like a woman in pain screaming, a baby crying, a high-pitched whistle, and like somebody with asthma, heavy, deep breathing sounds. But I also realized from cases I had where people, some incidents were within a few feet of these things, that they could mimic any sound, including human sounds. And again, it's so fascinating, but yes, I have heard similar type of things.
Wow. Now, LW here has a statement more than anything. Yeah. Ron, read that off so Stan can hear it.
Sure can. LW Marshall has more of a statement for you. Pop that back up there for me, bud. It just went away. Yeah, it's okay.
There it is.
You got it? Okay. It says, with the government taking seriously the idea of interdimensional beings, they need to take a look at silent invasion if they haven't already. Yeah, I would kind of agree with that too, wouldn't you? I mean, that's kind of you've been saying this for a very long time.
Well, I probably is referring to my book, Silent Invasion, the Pennsylvania UFO Bigfoot Case Book, and that's the book that focuses on that massive 1973 UFO Bigfoot wave, which was incredible. I mean, we can talk about some of those pretty much famous cases now. They're low involved, but if we have time, I'll be glad to go over them with you. And that's when we had lots of strange things showing up. One of the first things that my teams are finding, so in a lot of instances, we're out there to get to this. We're able to get to the scenes within minutes to hours after they occurred. That's why we could document all this information so quickly. And again, I had police officers, I had former military specialists, I had forensic people, anthropologists, all kinds of scientists in my teams. And a lot of these were very open-minded but quite skeptical people. But some of these people spend years with me out in the field, and as they began to see the pattern, to interview the witnesses, they began to realize we're dealing with something that's very strange and unusual. But one of the first things that showed up was, so you've got to remember, these incidents occurring all year round. They go on to early 74, even in the wintertime. So we get out there in the snow. Here's these very unusual looking footprints, very big strides between them. They go for a distance, then abruptly just stop when there should have been more tracks. And I'm sure you've heard this now. These reports are going on all over the country. There was no way that could be fabricated. And then reports began to get weirder and weirder. So remember, again, 1973, there's no internet and no cell phones. So it was a lot different type of situation because people didn't know whether people were reporting. Anyhow, one of the weird things was, now we're getting sightings from widespread areas from many counties across PA. Southwest PA was extremely active. And while you were getting reports even in more populated areas where there was not a lot of woods, and that's continuing to go on, by the way, there were some specific locations where there was more than just the other activities taking place. So a lot of that was going on along the Dairy side, the Chestnut Ridge, which is still active. Fayette County was very active. Part of Indiana County was quite active. Behind what was then the old Green Gate Mall, which is now Walmart, there was a lot of weird things. In fact, that's where all this started with that massive wave in 73. Anyhow, let me tell you that story. There's so many things going through my head. There's so much information to go out there. But anyhow, one of the things was that you had some locals out there who in daylight were seeing the 7-8 foot tall hair-covered creature that they swear that as they're watching this thing, it physically vanishes and moments later reappears maybe 30, 40 feet away. And over the next several weeks, we're getting the same reports from other counties many, many miles away. There's no way these people knew about these kind of reports. Oh, yeah. And then we began to get the really weird stuff. We'd have a UFO sighting in a particular area. Within minutes to hours or days later, we'd have a Bigfoot sighting or vice versa. And that's when weird things were going on. And once again, I tell people, when you listen to these reports, I am not suggesting that Bigfoot is a passenger in a spacecraft from another planet. That's not what I'm suggesting. The evidence is more and more that we are dealing with something that has a physical and a non-physical aspect to it. For lack of a better term, we'll call it interdimensional right now, because I don't think anybody understands what we're dealing with. And that's just the small part of the story. It gets stranger and stranger. I'm sure you've dealt with some of these. You're hearing some of these kind of reports. We can go into some of those aspects of it. But if you want me to tell you about at least two of the probably the most interesting stories with Bigfoot and UFOs and why I came to this opinion, I'll be glad to share it with you.
Yeah, let's go into that just a little bit, but let's get these guys questions. Man, you are popular tonight. I don't know if you're seeing this or not. Gerald Folio. It seems like there are more lights in the sky since 2019 and 2020. Do you have any idea why? Well, that's a pretty good observation, because I think me and you actually had that conversation before too.
Okay, well, that's a very good thing to bring up. You know, my hotline's been up since 1969. It never stops ringing. So between email reports and phone reports, it's basically almost every day I'm dealing with these incidents, including today. A lot of current and past reports often come in. And but anyhow, so generally over many past years, I get reports all year round, including wintertime. But generally in the fall and winter in Pennsylvania, when it's starting to snow and it's getting cold, you generally get a decrease in reports, which is normal. However, it was in the fall and winter of 2021 that we had a surge of low-level close-range UFO activity starting to occur. And from that point on, it's been nonstop. All through 2022, 23, 24, and 25, it has been nonstop UFO, Bigfoot, cryptid, orbs, weird stuff going on. Why it's happening, I cannot tell you, but I'm telling you, there's been a definite increase in quality sightings, low-level reports. We're getting many reports of UFOs in daylight hovering at low altitude over populated areas, both triangles and what the government calls tic-tacs, as long cylindrical wingless objects over in beautiful afternoons. I've talked to witnesses who watch these things. They just vanish right in front of them in many cases. Yes, we do have some videos and we do have some pictures of them. Some are on my website. And but why it's increasing, I can't tell you, but I have no doubt the quality of the reports are increasing.
Absolutely. Joe, cue up the next one for us. Mid-Ohio Valley Unexplained Phenomena. Stan, in the last couple of weeks, has anyone reported a line of lights, say 6 or 7, white in color, similar to Starlink trains, but way smaller and traveling vertical rather than horizontal in low orbit?
yes, of course, I get a lot of Starlink reports. I get a lot of high altitude reports, and some of these things we can explain. I'm sure well, let's answer your question without getting into more detailed stuff right now. Anyhow, I can't think of any in recent weeks, but in the past, I've heard of something somewhat similar. So again, it's interesting, but I get a lot of reports of high altitude orbs that zigzag, go up and down, change directions, sometimes multiple ones, and they're fascinating. But again, I think what's much more interesting are the low-level close-range reports coming in.
All right, what do we got next?
Speaking of the low-range close reports,
we got Sasquatch, paranormal. Oh, this is Wineberry. Okay, this is bad.
Yeah.
We had an abundance of orbs the other night, flash after flash, and the colors were white and red, and these lights would blink bright. That's honestly pretty normal from what I'm seeing at this point. I've taken several cases like this. I know you've taken them too, right, Stan?
Oh yeah, definitely. And I mean, those colors are, pretty common with some type of navigational lighting on certain type of aircraft or drones or whatever. I don't know the details of what you're seeing. I'm not sure where this location is. Probably in West Virginia. Maybe you're probably familiar with it. So maybe you can follow up and see if you can get more details of it. But we hear a lot of reports of things with flashing lights.
It's actually, if you remember the series I gave you, Paranormal Horizons, it's actually episode number what is it? 3, 4, and 5, right, Joe? Yeah. That's the place where 3, 4, and 5 took place. And they're low in the tree lines. That's the weird part, But
they're anywhere between 20 and 50 feet in the air.
20 to 50 feet in the air. Yeah, that's about right. Fishbelly asks, any reports from Franklin or Fulton County, Pennsylvania, Stan?
I know over past years, again, I've been doing it for many, many years. I don't think it's the county of Pennsylvania we haven't had reports from. And I know we've had reports from those areas. I can't say for sure. Recently, there's so many reports, nothing that really stands out. But I know in the past history, we definitely have had those reports. And if you want to go to Bigfoot sightings, you can go to the Pennsylvania Bigfoot Society's webpage. They have a lot of sightings, historical sightings from all across Pennsylvania. So you can check that out as well for Bigfoot activity.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Jordan Booker sends in a blessing. Thank you, Mr. Booker. That is amazing. Every little bit helps us here. And boy, do we have some, we have some fish to fry. Let's just put it that way. And you guys are going to like it. Put that back up there. That was a good thing he said. I want to see that. I want to make sure Stan sees that. Where was it? Yeah, that's it. Stan, you're a bastion of knowledge and historical data. So there's a understatement. Next one, Joe. Joe, you're on mute, buddy.
We need a Stan Gordon appearance at the Mothman Festival.
We do need to get a Stan Gordon appearance at some point at the Mothman Festival. I agree with you, buddy. That's true. West Virginia Watch Files asks.
Ron,
hey.
Ron, I over many years, I spoke numerous years at the Mothman Festival.
Oh, yeah, we know. Just not since we've been speaking there.
I know. We got to get you back in there while we're in there. Yeah.
I get so many requests from all over to do so many different events. It is impossible to do them all.
Oh, man.
And, getting up in age a little bit, I'm a little more limited now, but we've been doing them all year, a lot of places. I'm already getting calls to do events for next year. And you never know what might turn up. I'd like to get back down there again. We'll have to see.
Absolutely. West Virginia Watcher Files asked, what about vocalizations that sound exactly like someone we know, i.e. like your child in the woods?
Well, again, I've heard these stories. I've heard people that swear that the vocalization they heard was their relative or friend or somebody they were with out in the woods. And then they found out later that could not possibly be the case. So a lot of this stuff is very strange. Again, I keep repeating myself. But once again, some of these incidents where we understand that these things could actually mimic even human sounds, human voices. Anymore, I keep an open mind, but the more I know about, the stranger it is. Let me put it that way.
No, I agree. And that's kind of where me and Joe came up with the whole subject A and B thing. It was like, if we're going to talk about a physical creature that we know can't do these things typically, and then you've got these reports of this other thing that mimics things and disappears and has balls of light, and those aren't the same thing. There's no way that it can be the same thing.
Well, Ron, the one case that really sticks in my mind goes back to 73, and we didn't really get into any of those really amazing cases, but one example, as all these reports are coming in from across the state, I mean, my teams are out there day and night. The police are investigating cases. I mean, that was a lot different back in those days. And anyhow, we had this one case, September 27th of 73, north of Pittsburgh, in Beaver County, which is the same county, by the way, coincidentally, where that incident happened recently, with the orb coming up to the person out in their garden and making contact with her. But anyhow, two witnesses that evening, and they see the 7-8 foot tall, white-haired Bigfoot running across the road towards the woods, but in one of its hands is carrying a small glowing ball of light. And a little later that evening, an object came across the sky, projected a beam like down in the woods where the creature ran into. That's when we knew for sure there was a connection. And then after all these years, over so many years, and a lot more in recent years, areas that have a history of Bigfoot sightings, Fayette County, PA, Westmoreland, other parts of the state up northern Pennsylvania, other states as well, where there's a history of Bigfoot activity, where investigators and witnesses are investigating Bigfoot accounts. They're often seeing these strange light phenomena or these small orbs of light coming out of the woods. So we know that whether we like it or not, there's a connection there. What it's all about, we don't know.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. West Virginia Bigfoot Project. Stan, any reports on blue lights moving horizontal, coming through a small area, appearing and disappearing? I think they're asking about what sounds almost like a portal.
Yeah, I figured that's what we're talking about. Yeah. I can't say in particular about blue lights. Over the years, I've talked to different people up on the ridges and other places who swear they saw like a doorway, some type of opening sometimes, sometimes like a spiral misty thing that was pulling debris up inside of it. But I've had different descriptions of lights or areas like that some people consider to be a portal. That's all I can tell you. I mean, I don't remember the blue light being connected with one, but it's a possibility. I've heard so many reports over the years, thousands and thousands of reports. It is just very hard to remember everything anymore.
I can't imagine.
Well, blue is such a odd color too, because it shifts. It's so close to white when it comes into the light spectrum. So you're blue and white, and interpretation, it just depends on the angle and temperature.
Right. Joe's saying that, as far as blue and white light goes, even at distances, it seems to change. You're not really perceiving that too, and it kind of just depends on, I guess a lot of factors, right, Joe? I mean, as far as like atmospherics and whatnot, a blue light could be more white, or a white light could appear more blue. We just, we don't really know what they are, but yeah, I think that's a fair way to address that too. The indescribable Octoman says, Stan the man. Stan the man. There you go. Any comments about the Bridgewater Triangle in Massachusetts? I live nearby and have had experiences in the woods there. Sorry about that. My eyes completely quit working for a second. I don't know what happened.
Well, I'm aware of it. I've been up in that general area over the years. I know I've talked to people who investigated some cases many years ago up in that area. And it's very similar to, of course, Skinwalker Ranch and what's going on in Pennsylvania and many other states. Here's what I found a long time ago, Ron, and it keeps coming in. You can have a UFO encounter, a Bigfoot, a cryptid encounter almost anywhere. And we're getting more and more reports in suburbs of larger populated cities where there's not a lot of woods, of all these type of things going on. And so you can be in the right place at the right time, and that's what occurs. But there are certain geographical locations for whatever reason, certain properties that a lot of them have a long history of paranormal experiences, orbs, UFOs, Bigfoot creatures, weird footprints, weird sounds, and they're all over the country now. There's many places like this over, and other parts of the world we're hearing this as well. Here in Pennsylvania, I've been aware of several different properties where there's a long history of these things going on. This area that Eric and some of the other researchers here investigating up in Fayette County is very active. I understand even in recent weeks, I haven't got all the information yet, but I talked to some of the researchers at Eric's event recently, and they said there's a lot of weird things going on up there. I know they have some pretty good instrumentation. I know they've recorded some really interesting details and EM effects being reported, but they're having a lot of strange things going on. And this is similar to what we're hearing from many other places, similar to Bridgewater as well.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think these little pockets, and like Keel called them windows, there's these little areas, and they seem to pop up and become a little bit more active from time to time too, which is I'm not really sure why, but it does seem like either it wants to interact with people who are there, or others it may just completely ignore. I don't even know at this point. I know that we've got several of them that we've investigated, and they're pretty hot at times. So I completely agree with everything said there. MK Ultra, that's a good name. Any recent Thunderbird sightings, Stan? I had one in Clearfield County in '97. That's what got me into all of this.
Oh yeah, there have been sightings for years and years. I don't have all the reports in front of me. There have been numerous ones. Here's something that's interesting too. Over the years, there's different categories that I place under Thunderbirds. Lots of them are just these huge, oversized, generally dark brown or black, huge creatures with approximately 10 to 20 foot or more wingspan. So that's very common. And then you've got another category. It's more of a leathery, generally black, leathery, featherless, giant bat. That's been pretty common over the years. And then you got another category, and I've interviewed many extremely credible people who were so reluctant to tell this to me, but they swear what they saw looked prehistoric, including a few months ago, a fella who gave me a very detailed account of coming in close contact with a pterodactyl here in western Pennsylvania. Those reports continue to come in as well. And what's interesting too with some of those reports is what they describe the tail and the unusual appendage that they're describing on the end of the tail, which is similar to some of the prehistoric flying lizards we've been told about. So that's all kind of quite interesting there. But there have been sightings in Clearfield County, especially all over the state. There have been reports. And there have been reports this year. But here's what I started to tell you, and I went off track again. While most of these are generally dark brown or black, in the last 20-some years, and in more recent years, we're getting more reports of white ones being seen. I had one up in the ridge, I believe it was last year, on the ground, probably about 60 feet away, standing on the ground next to a big tree, and the witness watching this thing trying to get up off the ground. It was so heavy. So yes, we have one. And then there was a sighting this year, actually in a very, very active area of Pittsburgh, in a suburb of Pittsburgh. And if I can find a report, I've got pages of reports here. I will tell you, I know it was early morning. It was a beautiful morning. We've been having a hot spell with very little rain around here, unfortunately. We need some rain. And anyhow, this person couldn't sleep. It was around 2 o'clock in the morning. And she was taking a walk in this area. And this thing came down I think she was only about 40 feet away from the tree line. This thing was very low over top of the trees. And this thing, she said, had a massive wingspan. I think she estimated probably around 15 to 17 foot in length, and got a very detailed report of it. But from what I recall, she was saying the motion, she was very familiar with birds in the area because she lived in the area where there was a lot of hawks and owls. And she described how massive this thing was compared to them. But it was the movement of the wings, more like it was swimming than flying as it was gliding. And we're hearing more reports like that as well. of some of these things doing things that normal birds just don't do.
Well, the swimming motion
again over the last several months. There have been other reports from different areas like Indiana County, Westmoreland County, and it was about a year or so ago. If you go to my website, look under Thunderbirds, there was an increase in Thunderbird sightings in the last couple of years as well. And some of these were daylight, very low level, very close range. Interesting reports.
Well, they're amazing. Absolutely. What was you saying, Joe? The
swimming motion, like if you slow down a sparrow, and you watch it in ultra slow-mo, it swims through the air. The way these things move, they come in, they go out, they go forward, and they thrust down. It looks like a breaststroke, right?
Yeah.
And it's just kind of skewed because of the flight feathers.
Yeah, it's amazing.
You have a large bird.
Yeah.
If it looks as if it is flying and it looks like it's swimming, that to me screams that's actually a physical creature.
I mean, it could be.
Whereas the pterodactyls with the serpent tail and the pokey end
could be.
We know that dinosaurs don't have that. However, Ray Harryhausen said they did.
Exactly.
So you have that mental image of what a prehistoric creature would look like. That looks more like a screen image where, it looks like it's swimming real fast. You're talking about a ton of energy to flap and push that weight. It would look like it's swimming. So that to me gives it a little bit more credibility.
Yeah, it sounds like a physical creature, right, Joe? That's what Joe's saying. He's saying it basically sounds like a physical creature. Whereas some of these others, they have like the strange appendages and whatnot, which, weren't actually on some of these dinosaurs, but some people kind of think they were because of pop culture and whatnot. It almost screams like it's a screen image or something, that these people are encountering. And we've talked about that before too, because, some of this stuff just, it may be real, or it may be caused by something real that's making you see that. And, that's a fascinating aspect all on its own. Who we got? We got Tony. Tony's up. Stan, aside from the Superior mobile home incident in the 80s, do you know of any other Bigfoot related MIB encounter? That's a good question.
Oh boy, that's a long, deep question. Actually, it was the 1970s. And he's talking about that during that massive wave of 1973.
Okay.
And yes, I am aware of other cases, and probably one of the most interesting ones. So now, if we're going to talk about this, I've got to tell you about that famous UFO-Bigfoot incident in Fayette County in '73, because it's a part of the same story.
Yep.
All right, it's going to take a few minutes.
All right, guys, buckle up. This is a good story.
I'm going to give the brief summary. The whole story is a silent invasion. We could spend hours just on one case. I remember it very well. So October 20th, 1973.
We can talk about this case.
There were numerous UFO reports coming in from across the state on my hotline. About 10:30 that night, I get a call from a state trooper from the Uniontown Barracks in Fayette County. He just came back from investigating this multiple witness UFO landing. And it was about 9 o'clock that night in a rural area that there were 15 witnesses observed this very large red sphere, about as big as a barn, about 100 feet off the ground, hovering and slowly beginning to move downward. The farmer's son would be the adult we're going to talk about here. He was coming out to visit the family. His family had owned the farm. He sees this object in the sky and people outside watching this thing. He decides to go to a neighbor's house and give him a better view, and it looks like this thing's going to come down. At that farmhouse were two young boys, so the three of them decide they want to go up and see what this thing is. Before heading up to the pasture, they stop over his dad's farm. He grabs a 30-06 and a handful of ammunition. And let me say at this point, I do not recommend shooting at these creatures. From what we know, it's not going to do you any good anyhow. And there were numerous people that tried to shoot these things and bring them down during '73, and nobody was successful. That's another whole story. But anyhow, grabs a 30-06 and a handful of ammunition. In that ammunition, you had 2 tracer bullets. So you guys, men and women out there that hunt, you just get that luminous trail when you fire those tracer bullets. Anyhow, they're making their way down the farm road towards the pasture. The area is full of barking noises from the local dogs. They're very excited. They have this high-pitched whining noise and these baby crying sounds. getting louder and louder as they get closer to the pasture. They angled their truck so the headlights had kind of gives them a path to go watch as they're moving up the hill. And they notice it looks like something's draining the power from their headlights, which is something that they never had seen before. They make their way up to the pasture, and they're standing there looking across, and they couldn't believe what they were seeing. Here's this huge object now landed on the ground right above it, about 250 feet away. It's no longer a complete sphere. It's like a half a sphere, like a big white dome that's illuminating the area, making that loud whining noise. So they're standing there studying this thing, trying to figure out what it is, and then it gets much more fascinating. Their attention is drawn to a barbed wire fence about 75 feet away. Along that barbed wire fence are these two huge, hairy Bigfoot creatures, one behind the other, slowly walking their direction. The biggest one's in front. It's about 8 feet tall. The one right behind is about 7 feet tall. These things are kind of stooped. They're moving slowly for one a section of fence post along the barbed wire fence in their direction. They cover long, dark, matted hair hanging off the body. And anyhow, that's what they're doing. They have the arms are so long they're hanging below the knees, almost to the ground. They have no neck. They have large, luminous, glowing green eyes that are luminous, and they seem to be self-luminous and glowing. And the one young boy seeing this is so frightened that he runs out of the field, and that's it. And the other kid starts yelling, "Shoot him, shoot him." So the guy fires his first shot. He fires over their head. That turned out to be the first tracer. He fires the second round over their head. That's the second tracer. However, when he fires that second tracer, the largest of the two creatures reaches out and so to grab that tracer. It makes a loud whining, crying noise, and that huge object in the field vanishes. It doesn't take off and go into the sky. It just disappears. Most luminosity is gone. The sound stops. The creatures turn around, slowly start walking back along the fence line towards the woods. At that point, he's firing live ammo from his .30-06 into the creatures with no effect on them whatsoever. They ran back to the truck, went to the farmhouse, told the family what happened, took them to the neighbors and called the state police. Trooper arrives 45 minutes later, and the witness told the trooper, "Look, just forget about it. You're going to think I'm crazy." And the trooper said, "We had a report of two similar creatures up on the mountain the night before. I have to take the report." So they go up in the state police car to look for evidence. And again, making the story short, the trooper told me when I interviewed him, when they got on scene, the area where the object was on the ground was self-luminescent glowing, about 100 feet or more in diameter. He said the glow extended up a thing about a foot off the ground. The farm animals would not go anywhere near it. And he told me, he said, if I had a newspaper, I'm pretty sure I could have read the newspaper from the light coming off the glow. And again, there was a lot more to the story. Anyhow, I was told they went back to the barracks, the witness and this trooper. They were taken to two separate rooms. They were separately interviewed. Then they called me to send up my team. And you got to remember now, in 73 again, there's no cell phones, there's no GPS, there's no internet. So it took us quite a while to find our way up and to that area. But I know we spent the whole night there. What went on during the night got stranger and stranger. I don't have time to get into it. But anyhow, that was a major, probably one of the most unusual, strangest cases ever documented in the world. It was a lot of investigation done. The famous psychiatrist, Dr. Berthold Schwartz, came in and spent a week up here interviewing all the witnesses, went away convinced this case was for real and these people were telling the truth. And so anyhow, now to answer the question. Years after it happened, if there was important cases, we tried to do follow-ups just to keep in touch with witnesses, just to see how they were doing, anything new, that kind of thing. So years later, so this was October 25th of 73, in the mid-'80s, one of my research associates and I went up to talk to this fellow. We never did any hypnosis with him. We had specialists on my team who were trained to do it, but we rarely ever used it over the years. But now, after years later, there were some aspects of the case and we wanted to get a little more information on, and we were going to pose that to the witness. So here we are, we're talking to this witness, and we said to him, you know, after all these years, we're considering doing, say, hypnosis now with you. And he looked at us real strange and he said, why do you want to hypnotize me again? We said, well, what are you talking about? He said, well, when all that was going on, your teams were up here. You know, there were a lot of investigators up here interviewing us. And he said, these two men who we thought were connected with your group came one day. They wanted us to tell them the whole story of what took place and what happened. He said one was in a dark suit, the other was in an Air Force uniform. And the man in the Air Force uniform had a briefcase. And they had him tell the whole story, what he saw, what he experienced. And then the Air Force officer opens up the briefcase and pulls out photos of both Bigfoot and UFOs. And they wanted him to point out what looked similar to what he saw. And then they apparently did hypnotize him. They told him, thank you for your time. We believe your story will be in touch. And he never heard from him again. So, of course, we tried to track him down. We did FOIA requests. You got to remember, Project Blue Book closed down officially in January of 1970. And this was in 73. And there was no record of anybody getting involved in it we could track down. So who they were, we don't know. And have I had other cases that were really interested with mystery men showing up with both UFOs and cryptids? Yes, I have.
Wow. There's a bonus for you. Folks, start hitting that like, that share, and that sub and all that stuff. We got a lot of folks out there watching this and a lot of people asking some questions. So, yeah, let's get to the next one. Oh, also, I just wanted to throw this up here real quick for you guys. Right now, it looks like L.W. Marshall was in the lead with 2,575 XPs. Vincent second, Jordan is third, and Noir 4, L.R. Miller 5, 6, 9 lives. Yeah, and Enzo is 7. Those are the little points that it gives you for interacting, and apparently LW is just killing it tonight. So awesome. Thank you. Very, very good. Very good. Everybody likes that. Go Dot. Here we go. Question. Does Stan know of anyone doing any eDNA sampling from rivers and lake waters?
And I can tell you, I am not aware of that. I know of other researchers over the years that are trying to gather samples, but you know, it's not like it was in the 70s, some other years back then. We had some very good hair samples. We had other samples. And, you know, we had one sample of hair from a case that I was convinced was probably the real thing. I mean, you'd put it up to a dog and the dog would just move away quickly. It was very, very shaken when it smelled whatever it was. And I believe that was probably a real sample. But back in those days, if you sent it to a lab, we didn't have DNA testing back in those days. And it was destructive testing. So you lost the samples. And I remember one of those samples went to a leading anthropologist at the time. And from what I can recall, he said it was very close to human, but they couldn't be certain, and they really couldn't give us any more information on it.
Wow. Donna, statement here. Remember last week, I told you there was a huge human footprint on my property, but only one? Wow, this is just confirming for me that having only one or on a trail you can't follow isn't so odd after all. Yeah, that's right. And, you know, like Stan was talking about, not only that, you know, you'll get those footprints that'll change shapes as they move along too, or just completely disappear. So yeah, it's not odd. It's just part of whatever this is.
Oh yeah.
Right. I mean, that's a thing. So
yeah, I mean, while we have a lot of cases where there was whole trails of tracks, there have been other cases where there should have been more than one footprint. And that's, I've talked to people and hunters who have followed a series of unusual tracks to watch them suddenly change into a completely different unknown type of track. And I remember talking to a hunter several years ago who told me he was deep in the woods in Pennsylvania, saw, I believe it was the ground conditions were pretty good, soft enough for good tracks. He saw what appeared to be, I believe, 4 or 5 different sets of tracks, different sizes, like of a group, but some were 5-toed and some were 3-toed. And we keep hearing about this as well. The 3-toed tracks were very common during that 73 outbreak, but yes, we are getting 5-toed tracks as well. And while many people are not aware of it, Pacific Northwest, many parts of the country for years and years, they only talk a lot about the 5-toed tracks, but they also reporting 3-toed, sometimes 4-toed tracks. And here in Pennsylvania, I have a lecture I call strange aspects of elusive Bigfoot, where I get into a lot of the weird stuff of Bigfoot that a normal unknown species would never be associated with. And we have numerous other casts of what appear to be genuine, very strange tracks, very credible witnesses. The whole point is this. We have all these Bigfoot sightings and out of place Black Panther sightings and all kind of weird creature sightings and Thunderbirds and Dogman reports, all kind of reports like this. And you never find any bodies or skeletons. But you got so many credible people seeing these things, and there's patterns to it. You can't just say it's not happening. There's something going on. A lot of people I talk to are extremely reputable. Some of these people hold important positions. They have no reason to make the story as up. 99% of them with no publicity whatsoever. A lot of them, their lives are changed after having these experiences. And we're dealing with something, once again, that is so mysterious, so strange. Unless you experience it yourself, it's hard for people to understand. And I don't know if I told you this wrong, but I'm sure you know it. In all the years I've been doing this, now going on 66 years, I have never personally seen a Bigfoot or UFO myself.
Yep. I can't say that for myself, but yep, I totally do respect that. And I think that that's something that a lot of people don't get. It's, and you're the one who actually made me understand what's okay to have sightings, and it's okay to research them because, as long as you're following the data and you're not being led by your bias, it's okay. And, I think that's an important thing, Terry, what's Terry saying? Saw one of the pterodactyls in East Tennessee in the early 80s. It was a dark gray in color with a reddish orange collar on the head and crest. It was just gliding over the tree lines. Yeah, and what's really funny is those sightings, they just sound so out there. You talk to people and you can just watch them roll their eyes, and it's like, it's one of the situations, if you haven't actually did the research, okay, I can see you rolling your eyes. But once you actually open the books and you start looking at these accounts and you, like you said, look at the background of the people who are seeing these things, you can't deny it anymore. There is something going on. There's something either real or there's something that is interfacing with these people and making them think that's what they're seeing, at least. So, I say let the skeptics be skeptics, and we need skeptics, but we don't need the people who are so closed-minded that they just can't grasp the fact that there really is something happening here. Dances with Orbs, great name. Thank you, and multiple blessings, Dances. Excellent Stan the Man episode. Much respected. Well, thank you so much. Another question here. Stan, any reports involving the Bigfoot version of the Men in Black? I think Joe talks about these. They call them the Men in Plaid, right, Joe? Is that what you're talking about? I think. Oh, Joe, you're muted, bud. Cannot hear you. Hang on.
Yeah, the Men in Plaid are
the
basically the Men in Black, but almost like from the forestry.
Are you talking to me or are you talking to Joe? I'm sorry.
No, it's for you. I was asking Joe if that's what we were talking about, and it is. It's basically the Men in Plaid, which is basically a Bigfoot version of the Men in Black. Have you ever heard anything about that or ran into anyone who reported?
I only remember one case with hardly any detail from the early 70s. One of my researchers was investigating a report of a Bigfoot that supposedly was wearing something like a flannel shirt. But that was years and years ago. I've heard these stories from around the country. They're very, very rare. But I have heard those kind of reports.
No, that's wild. Lisa, anything strange in, where's that at?
Rimmersburg.
I'm not even sure where Rimmersburg is. You know that?
I think it's in Pennsylvania. I'm not sure what county. Ask her what county it's in.
You know what county, Lisa? All right, we're waiting on that one. Do we have anything else going on here? What we got? Once you see something that once you see something that shouldn't exist, you're open-minded to the possibility that really might not be what we were taught. Yeah, that's true. I mean, and I think that's one of the issues. You've got this kind of shock to the system at times, and I think that's one of the problems that people have with it, trying to
Clarion
rationalize it. Clarion County, is that what we're talking about? Is that right? No, this is a new, or that is what they're saying. Clarion.
Yeah,
Is
Clarion County.
Okay,
Yeah,
there's Clarion County. It's north of Pittsburgh.
it.
I've never been incidents up in that area for sure. I know I get reports from Butler County, Beaver County, up in that area. I do get some on occasion from Clarion. I've been there, probably been many cases over past years. I can't think of one in particular. I know there have been sightings. I think some triangular objects report up in that area. But again, I get reports from all across the state.
Oh, absolutely. I can't even imagine. Who else we got, Joe?
We've made it through them.
Oh my gosh, did we catch up? Really?
We caught up.
Wow, you guys, amazing, absolutely amazing. That was a.
Oh wait, Lisa asked one more.
Hey Ron, I wanted to tell you and Joe something. I think you're talking about the Thunderbirds, and what I found with some of these other cryptids is there's some similarities, whether we like it or not. There's some similar. For example, I remember a few years ago I talked to another researcher who investigated a Thunderbird sighting up on the ridge, and that witness said that this thing was transparent. She could see the whole shape, but she could see through it. I've interviewed witnesses who have told me that when they've seen these things at low level, there was actually like a glow surrounding the whole body, and in some cases illuminating the area below as it was passing over.
Wow. So there you go, Joe. Definitely a subject A and B type situation with those as well.
Yeah.
It's all right. Lisa says, Stan, please talk about not deer.
Okay. Well, am I familiar with it? A little bit. I've been starting in the last few years to hear more reports along that line of people describing something that looks like a deer, but it's not acting like a deer. And it's quite unusual, actually. And I've heard some reports, especially up in the ridge area in the last couple of years, of gigantic, huge, extremely abnormal sizes to some huge deer they're seeing up there. I've heard reports of deer-like creatures walking upright on two legs. And interestingly, one detail I've heard around here, but supposedly reported around the country, is people who've seen them at close range said they had a very weird smile on their face. That's something that's been showing up. But here's an interesting thing that happened last year. This happened up on the dairy side of the ridge again, and this was October 10th of last year. And you can go to my website and you can read the whole report. But anyhow, this woman called me. It was about half an hour after it happened. She sounded very shaken on the telephone, and she knows that area well. Some of the roads like 982, Route 217, outside of between Latrobe and Dairy, for years and years have been low-level UFO sightings, Bigfoot, cryptid encounters, all kind of weird stuff. And she drives this road apparently almost every day, and she knows in the evening in certain areas you slow down because there's a lot of deer. So on that particular evening, she's told me she's riding down the road, and across the field she saw what she thought at first were two deer. But she said they were moving oddly and slow. One was moving slowly and oddly around the tree. The other one looked at her when her headlights hit it, and then walked across the road and approached within 5 feet of her vehicle and stopped and looked right at her. She said she knows both creatures walked with a limp that seemed to originate from the back left leg. They were sandy brown in color and about 5 feet tall, about the size of a medium-sized deer. They had floppy ears and oval eyes that were all black. They had a nose like a human and strangely seemed to smile with no apparent teeth. The witness was very shaken as she watched the creature staring at her. She said she had a cell phone right next to her. She was so shocked and almost frozen in fear, she didn't think about trying to take a picture. Said the creature crossed back across the road where the second creature was walking around the tree, and they both slowly walked off into the field and off in the distance. But within a short time, I'm getting independent reports of UFO sightings around Dairy Township and other areas that evening. And one fellow near Jeanette, PA, that was the night that you could see the northern lights really good in this area. Yeah. He was taking photographs of the northern lights, and he got what appears to be a very good color photo of a luminous, cylindrical, wingless object like a tic-tac over top of the trees.
Oh, wow.
Very
so
cool.
this was happening at the same time that all those were happening. So there's
within a short time.
There's the correlation
from different areas from different witnesses.
Yeah, so that's the weird, seemingly the correlated patterns or these synchronicities that take place with this stuff that just makes you scratch your head. That's literally what it does. Mid-Ohio Valley unexplained phenomena. Would Stan be willing to go out with Ron and Joe to a high strangeness hotspot for a chance to have an encounter? I don't know. Would you, Stan? That would.
We could even come to you.
If we could arrange to do that, we could. I've gone out with many other researchers over the years, and I'm a little more limited now. I can't be crawling around and moving around like I used to. The old knees aren't as good as they used to be, but it's possible. The whole point is these places on private property. Generally, when I go out, I go with some other researchers that have access to the property. So it's something we could work on, and maybe in the future we could do something.
We've got comfy
but you
chairs.
Got to remember, Ron, anytime I'm out there,
style.
nothing ever happens. So you may not have a very good experience.
That's what Steve said.
We've heard
Famous
that
last
before.
words.
Yeah, we've heard that before. That's what was that, Joe? Episode 11, I believe.
Episode 11 was
Steve. Yeah, Steve said the exact same words. And at the end, it's just great to see that he got the.
But it's about the sensors.
You
couldn't have seen these with your naked eye. You
couldn't have seen it.
Sensors.
Yeah, Joe's saying that you had to have the sensors to see them, and he's right. It was more of equipment based observations than physical observations. I mean, we had a physical observation not too long ago when we were out at Wineberry, and to be honest, the physical observations are kind of rare. It's almost everything that we catch is on night vision or thermal or it's a transient signal of some sort that seems to be showing up when we're conducting some experiments. And I just don't think there's a lot of people that do that, to be honest. I mean, there's more now than there were, obviously, but it's a lot of work. And I think that a lot of people don't do that. What do we got? What's Noah saying?
How are you and how?
I was just going to get into some interesting areas we probably haven't talked about, and some areas that a lot of people are not aware of. But there's a lot of different correlations I found over the years. And, one of the topics that I get a lot of emails about, including one today, is the sightings of black panthers in Pennsylvania. And I know you get in West Virginia, too.
Oh, yeah.
And that's fascinating. Now we're not talking about mountain lions or cougars. That's a whole separate thing. Yep. We always knew they were around in Pennsylvania, and I'm sure West Virginia. I mean, officially in Pennsylvania, they've been long gone, but people see them year after year. Are there misidentifications? Yes, there is. Have people in past years released exotic animals in the woods? I'm sure they have. So some sightings are explainable. But we're not talking now about mountain lions. We're talking about what people describe seeing as like a black leopard or black jaguar. Not common in this part of the world. They've been seeing them for years and years in Pennsylvania. Last couple of years, I've had them in areas up around the ridge, other parts of Pennsylvania. Hunters have seen them at close range and daylight. A lot of people are seeing them at very close range now. We had a fella had one walk out 20 feet from his vehicle outside of Latrobe last year. These reports are very intriguing. But what I want to tell you about, I can't tell you unless I tell you about that other famous 1974 UFO-Bigfoot incident.
Do it.
No one's indicated these things were not flesh and blood, and I'll show the correlation.
Absolutely, no one is objecting to it, and this only validates a lot of the stuff that we've been saying forever. We got 50-some people out there. Y'all better be smacking that like button and hitting those subscribes. By the way, Stan, floor is yours. Do it. Okay, so again, a lot of odd cases were going on for months and months from widespread areas. So February 6, 1974, in a very intriguing case. This is deep in the mountains of Fayette County, not too far away from the Ohio area, way up in the mountains. And I know some of your listeners remember the time period, February 1974, there was a big national trucker strike. There was gas rationing across the country, so a lot of people remember that. There was violence across the highways and across the country. So in Pennsylvania, you had the National Guard and the State Police patrolling together. You had members of both units that responded to this incident. I couldn't get gas in Greensburg where I lived until early the next morning to get up to the scene. So this lady lived in a cabin home deep in the mountains. She lived there all her life. She knew animals well. She was a good shot, pretty much not afraid of anything. Got to know her pretty well at the time. Anyhow, it was a normal evening. She's sitting in her little cabin home watching TV.
she hears this little commotion on her front porch. There was some empty soda cans, pop cans out there. Someone was knocking the pop cans around. So anyhow, she thought, well, a couple weeks before, 2-3 weeks before, she had a pack of wild dogs came through. She thought, I bet you the dogs are back. So she thought, I'll grab my 16-gauge double-barrel shotgun, and I'll just fire over their head, and I'll scare those dogs away. So she proceeds to load her shotgun, one chamber. She walks up towards the front. She turns on the switch for the outside porch light. She opens the door, and she steps out. No dogs there. 6 feet in front of her is a 7-foot-tall, hairy Bigfoot with gray hair that put his arm straight up over her head when she turned on the light. What does she do? She aims her weapon and pulls the trigger and fires right into it. She said there's this bright flash of light, like the flash on a camera, and it physically vanishes right in front of her. Her in-laws heard the gunshot 100 feet away, and they called and asked her what she's shooting at, and she explained it to him. The son-in-law reportedly began to walk down that dark lane towards the cabin, reportedly encountered 4 or 5 hairy people with eyes like coals of fire, started shooting at him randomly, and around the same time, there was this large luminous object hovering over the trees at the same time. That's when they called the state police for help. And anyhow, I talked to the primary investigator, and he said by the time they found the location way up in the mountains, everything was over. But I remember him telling me, he said, something very strange happened up there. He said, based on one, the witnesses were very credible. They were visibly shaken, gave detailed accounts of what took place. But what convinced him was the animal reactions. Now, I've told you I've never seen a Bigfoot myself. I've seen the animal reactions many times over the years. Even the most vicious dogs, very commonly, when they're close to these creatures, they're just like paralyzed. They don't bark, they shake, they cower. Sometimes they'll not eat right for 2 or 3 days later. Even this year, we've heard these kind of reports. Other animals on the farms quite often respond the same type of way. And when I got up there early in the morning, the dogs were all barking and everything was back to normal. That was the case among others. And there was a lot more of that story as well. That's, again, those are all in the Silent Invasion book. We don't have detailed time to get into everything. It's impossible. But anyhow, that was the case that convinced me, among others, that we're dealing with something that's physical and non-physical both. So here's the correlation between the Black Panther reports. Now, here's what I found long ago. You get a lot of these Black Panther reports. Sometimes when you have an outbreak at some of those locations we're talking about, with Bigfoot and UFO sightings, things like that, or Bigfoot encounters taking place for a period of time in an area, you also get reports of other cryptids, which commonly are Black Panther reports. So back in 1981, summer of 1979, on the border of Armstrong and Westmoreland County in Pennsylvania, there was a big outbreak in that area after something fell from the sky into the woods that afternoon. Then they began hearing screams and howls, finding footprints, having Bigfoot sightings. And 81 and 82 got very, very, very active with these kind of reports. But they were getting Black Panther sightings as well. Okay, but here's the correlation. In February of 1983, way up in the mountains of southwest PA, early morning hours, this man's coming home, his car's overheating. He pulls into his driveway, and he's getting out a can of antifreeze. He's putting antifreeze in the car, and a few minutes later, he hears this loud growl, and he turns around and looks about 20 feet away. There's this big black house cat sitting there staring at him and growling at him. Well, he didn't think much of it because up there in that rural area, there's a lot of cats roaming around. He goes back to putting more antifreeze in the car. A few minutes later, he hears a louder growl. He turns around and he said, I couldn't believe what I saw. That big house cat has now physically grown to twice its size. And he threw the antifreeze can at it, and it growled real loud, started walking outside. It's all illuminated, that outside area. And he said, I ran to my house to get my pistol. He said, I came back out a few minutes later, and he said, I thought I was losing my mind. He said, now what I'm seeing looks like what I saw in the zoo. It looked like a great big Black Panther with glowing yellow eyes staring at me and growling at me. He said, I took a shot at it. I don't know if I hit it, but moments later, it physically vanished and disappeared right in front of me. There's the similarities there.
Yeah, big time similarities right there. That's something. What we got down here? We got Eyes in the Woods. Stan, this is a good question, actually. What is an overlooked part of the phenomena that you find remarkable? That's a complicated one.
Oh boy, there are so many. Well, I'll tell you a few different things with some of the Bigfoot sightings that you rarely ever hear about or people even know about. And again, it's very rare in Pennsylvania, but around the country over the years been reported. You know, going back to 1950s, back in those years is when it started. You get reports of UFOs, low-level UFO sightings, large metallic objects hovering over vehicles or hovering near vehicles. And sometimes when these objects are close by, the cars could begin to lose power. They begin to lose, their headlights would begin to fade away. And when the object would take off, the power would come back on, headlights would get brighter again. There have been similar electromagnetic cases reported with Bigfoot. So the instance when a Bigfoot has walked out near a vehicle and the car engine begins to sputter, begins to lose power, as a creature moves off, the power comes back on. That's one thing. Something else, well, again, there's so many different things, there's so many different aspects of it. You know, most sightings of Bigfoot involve what appears to be a solid physical creature. But there are other cases where the bodies sometimes are more misty or foggy looking. Sometimes part of the body is solid looking, while other times it's out of focus or looks transparent.
That's consistent with
that's been reported from widespread areas. And then we have a lot of cases over the years where a Bigfoot suddenly appears at a close range right in the middle of the road in front of the people in the car. So it's not suddenly crossing the road into the road. It suddenly just appears out of nowhere. They see it from head to toe, and then it's gone.
Wow.
Interesting stuff. And there was an interesting case that Eric and I investigated down in the Mon Valley. So the Mon Valley are these small little towns along the Monongahela River, about 40 miles outside of Pittsburgh. And there's been numerous reports of Bigfoot sightings, Thunderbird sightings, cryptid stuff, UFO stuff for years and years, including weird things in the river as well. Right. And but anyhow, there was a case down there. This was just several years ago, and it was a really heavy, rainy night, as I recall. And this fellow was riding down this farm road. It's back in 2018, and he has his, I believe, he had his low beams on at the time, and he's riding down the road, but he catches something standing on the left side of the road, about 50 feet in front of him at first. So he slows down. He puts his high beams on. Suddenly, this huge 7-foot tall hair-covered creature walks out onto the road and literally stops 5 feet in front of his vehicle. It's so close that the hood of the car is blocking the bottom appendages of the creature. But it turns around, it's looking directly at him with his glowing red eyes. He can see the hands of the creature at some point as it's swinging and turns, starts walking across the road and up a little hill across the road. And he can see the hands are closed almost like in a cup position. So anyhow, this fella grabs his cell phone that was next to him, and he's right behind this thing. He's getting ready to take a picture as it's moving up this little hill, and he has his headlights on, and suddenly it's not there. And he had no explanation for that. His eyes were adjusted to the light. Could have been out of the range of the headlights, possibly, but the way it happened so quickly, and I've spent many, many nights in moonlight and different light conditions on farms where sightings had occurred, and even though it was very dark, I could still see the outline of the horses and cattle out there. So that doesn't seem to be the case. It's just the fact that this thing just wasn't there anymore. And these are the kind of things you hear about that are really, really intriguing. And there are so many other different aspects to it. Some of the reports, we have a lot of reports of these things moving very, very fast, huge gates running very, very quickly. But we also have heard reports of these things that appear to be gliding or floating right above the ground. So that's kind of interesting in itself. And I think one of the more interesting and kind of strange and a little frightening, but before I tell you the story, let me tell you this. Of the hundreds of reports of Bigfoot, of people who have seen Bigfoot in Pennsylvania, these things seem to be curious of human activity. And quite often when they're seen, they generally run off. Mm-hmm. But in some cases, yes, they'll throw some pretty good size small boulders or tree branches towards people, apparently to scare them away. And So that's fine. But and I kind of lost my trend of thought. But anyhow, those are the kind of things that go on. But here's what I wanted to tell you. There was some very, very strange incidents occurred during that 73 outbreak. And this occurred at a very rural location at the time in 73 between Greensburg and Latrobe called Beach Hills. And this woman, early morning, she was staying at a friend's house. That home, which is gone now, I was there, with a very low foundation to the ground. So somebody easily could have crawled up on the roof. But around 3 o'clock in the morning, I believe it was, early morning hours, she gets up to go to the bathroom. So she's sitting there in the bathroom, and it's ground level. So the window is right there, just a short distance right above the ground. She's hearing these strange animal sounds. And suddenly, this thing rises up, and the face of this thing is right on the opposite side of the screen. So it's about a foot away from her, looking right into her face. She's describing the skin. She's describing the nose, the fang-like teeth, the glowing, luminous eyes, and the fact that the face looked more like a wolf or a dog. And she was hysterical. And she ran out of there and told the people what happened. They called the state police barracks in Greensburg. The state police patched her to me. I interviewed her. They sent a trooper out in the meantime. They found some tracks out there. Here's where it gets even more interesting. She was so scared, she made her friends take her to her home several miles away. Within the hour, the same or similar creature showed up at her house. And that's not the only case I have like that, but it's very, very rare.
Wow. So that's fascinating in its own, right, Joe? I mean, that's the hitchhiker effect, basically, right? Dancing with Orbs, more of a statement for you, Stan. We spoke at Kecksburg about my husband's experience while hunting out by the Harbor Inn. We're heading out there again this weekend, fingers crossed. So I guess we're going to possibly get some data from up that way, is what it sounds like. Scott Holbrook, I see that blessing over there. Thank you. Great show. Well, you can thank Stan for that. We don't have much to do with that. Jen, does Stan have anything from Lackawanna County from the early 80s?
Okay, I'm trying, and I'm sure I do. I believe, I don't have my map right in front of me. I think Lackawanna County is kind of up north. You can verify this, up around maybe what they call the Black Forest region, Pennsylvania. Maybe I'm off. I could be thinking about some other county, but I know you have like Tioga County, whatever. I'd have to get my map out here. There's so many different areas, and I don't hear about them very often. But I know for sure I've had reports in Lackawanna County over the years. Ask her tell me what town is near that general area.
Okay, so
let me go back to it.
What town is near that general area? Do we know?
Yeah, she said the town. I just got to go back and dig into it.
He's checking it out for us. Wow, you guys have just blown up the comments. It's
Moscow, PA.
Amazing. Moscow, PA.
Okay, so it's a different area, and I'm thinking, but I know for sure we've had reports for years down that area. Once again, I doubt if there's any area in Pennsylvania in which there have not been reports of something. I have no doubt about it. I know for sure from Harrisburg to Philadelphia. There's been so much going on historically a lot of people don't know about. For example, let's see how my memory is tonight.
Thank you, Gerard.
There was a massive UFO flap wave out in the Harrisburg area. It made a lot of local news, some national news. A lot of these incidents were large structures, metallic objects low to the ground. There were landing reports. I interviewed a fella just several weeks ago who came forward and gave me a detailed account. He's up in age. He's older than I am. And he wanted me to put it on record. He sent me sketches, and he swears, interesting background he has, that he actually came up during the daylight, thought it was a helicopter on the ground, and instead comes across this landed object with portals in it. I interviewed many, many people who had amazing UFO incidents of large structured objects like this all over Pennsylvania. There are landing reports, there are reports of occupants, some cases like around 4 or 4.5 foot tall, small humanoids. Others are more of the larger normal human size in some cases. Just amazing, amazing reports during the 60s. You had that famous UFO landing, which may have been one of the first cases where the UFO-Bigfoot connection possibly July 31st, 1966, on Beach 6 in Presque Isle Beach in Erie. It's very famous. A lot of you can read about it on the internet. And but there was a lot of weird things going on. But there have been incidents for years all over Pennsylvania. Some were publicized pretty much. A lot of these sightings, probably the majority of reports I've heard, people never went public. And there are so many cases. You know, the one thing, Ron, and I think you've noticed this too, at Kecksburg, recently at the Pennsylvania Bigfoot camping adventure at Ericat, everywhere I speak, I can't even begin to tell you how many witnesses came up to me.
Yep.
And I'm sure with other researchers there too, and shared current and past reports with them. Almost nobody reported them to anybody.
Yeah.
And I remember one woman coming up with her sister at the Bigfoot adventure, and I know I talked to her past years. Supposedly, I hope she's going to send me a report at some point, but I know she told me before that when she was a child, 2 thunderbirds came down and tried to pick her up off the ground, and her young sister watched it happen, and she was there.
Wow. Yeah, these people don't talk about it, and you're right. You know, I was there. We had people walk up to the table. There's been several people who've come up to our table before and literally said, well, okay, you know, out of all the people here, you might have done it. And I'm like, well, what are you talking about? Like, you might have convinced me that there's really something here to look at. Like, there is, but you know, I'm glad you took that from it, but all you have to do is really open your eyes, right? I mean, it's there. The data's there. Joe, pull up that, who was it that
Gerard.
Yeah, massive blessings out there, my friend. Thank you so much for helping to support the show and keep everything going.
When you guys see what we're getting ready to pull out, you will love it.
Yep,
you
will absolutely will.
That all this is going to fund.
Yep, the new series is going to be amazing, and you know, the guy who's on here right now, he'll probably be in an episode or so of those, right, Stan? That's a spoiler.
Sure.
Yeah, that's a spoiler, right? We'll go ahead and tell
him. How to do that for you, sure.
We'll go ahead and tell them that. Gary, I saw you in there too. Thank you so much. Blessings to you, Gary, guys. We're going to give everybody massive blessings here toward the end of the show, so stick around. Keller had a question, Joe.
Yes,
I saw it
Keller,
pop up.
Let me get back to the stars.
Yeah.
There we go.
For Stan, are there any recent abduction reports, and how have the number of abduction reports changed since the government UAP disclosure, in quotes?
Well, I wouldn't call much of a disclosure. I'm glad to see that the agency, Arrow, is opening up and at least making people aware that there are sightings going on the government cannot explain. I'm sure you know that next week, I believe it's September the 9th, that they have the next Health Oversight Committee public hearing at 10 o'clock in the morning.
10 a.m.
And I'm very hopeful that some new information may come forward. We'll have to wait and see. But I personally, having done this for a long, long time, having gone through this over the years of other supposed disclosures, I really don't think that there's going to be any type of major disclosure anytime soon. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think it's going to happen, because personally, I think the government's in a position where they're aware of a lot of what we're talking about tonight, and I'm sure there's also a lot of things they may not be aware of. These things go on all over the country and around the world. I said years and years ago, the data that I'm seeing indicates that, one, first of all, a lot of sightings are misidentification. So let's get that out of the way, whether it's a Bigfoot or UFO, a lot of misidentification of natural man-made objects. But every year, reports are coming in you cannot easily explain away. I said years ago, there's indication that a small percentage of these sightings could well be extraterrestrial. Do I believe the government has recovered craft that's not man-made? Yes, I do. But a lot of what we're dealing with is something else. Just like we're talking about tonight with these creatures appear and disappear, there are many UFO reports that I've investigated, others in daylight, that suddenly appear out of nowhere. They fade away and they're gone. They can change physical form, one form into another. There's a lot of similarities of what's going on, whatever we're dealing with.
Yeah.
So
and you
can
know,
Stan see our screen?
Stan, can you see the screen right now?
I just got it on here just now.
He can see it right now.
Okay. Well, tell him, because before we get too late here, I want him to see, since we've got him here.
Yeah.
Months back, it was about 30. It was in the 30s. It was right after the leaves came on the trees, and it was when we had that first frost after. So we had a really crystal clear night.
Uh-huh.
And everybody remembers, because I came on the live and
you're going to show some footage, right? Is that what you're going to do?
Yeah.
All right. So Joe's going to share something.
that my son filmed some UFOs, and he thought it was the coolest thing ever. Well, I finally got the footage put together and here for you, everybody to see.
Well,
But I figured we'd let Ron or let Stan see it as well.
Have a look at it. Okay, yeah. So I'm gonna blow the screen up here, and let's see. Where'd you go, Joe? You should be in there. You're not in there.
There I am.
What the heck? Oh, okay. Is that you? There you are.
Yep.
All right. So go ahead. There. Okay. There you go.
This is the guy, and you can see he's holding the device. He's actually looking down at it. He's holding my phone, watching it, and he's the one taking the pictures. Okay.
All right. So that's your son, and he's going to be taking the thermal that we're going to see, is what you're saying, right?
I'm holding the monocular myself.
You're holding the monocular, and he's watching it on
the phone, and he's using the phone to record everything.
Okay, so he's got a blanket over his shoulder. All right.
So so now, before everybody says, "Well, you shot a plane," that's what a plane looks like.
That is a plane, 100%. Yeah,
we contrail.
We verified that's a plane. All right, so let's see what did he get? Let's see.
Here's the first one.
Okay.
You see the small bug that flew through.
Yeah, I saw the bug go through there. I'm trying to see if I see any wing flaps, and I'm not seeing wing flaps.
Oh, if you zoom in on it, it does have the black ring.
Okay.
And then let me get rid of that.
All right. What else does he got? What else did he get? These were his first UFOs, is what you're telling me, right?
These were his first UFOs, and he thought that it was the coolest ever.
So this just created a new ufologist. I got you.
Yep. Now look at this one. This one is way up there.
I see that. Yeah, that is way up there. I doubt Stan can actually see that one. It's pretty dim.
And it fades in and out a couple times.
Fades in and out. Yeah, that's kind of cool, actually. But I think that's one of the more important things that we have to do too, right? Is we have to actually look at this stuff, regardless of what it is. We have to look at it and then come together and figure out what it could be, instead of just automatically saying, "Oh, it's this or that." And I think that that's one of the biggest problems that we have in this community is we've got a lot of people who know what stuff is, who just won't look at the data. And that's why we bring it to people like Stan, when we have something, for him to take a look at. I mean, I've done it multiple times now. Like I'm pretty sure he's tired of looking at some of it, but he does it.
It's cool right here on this show. You guys got Stan Gordon, one of the longest running professional UFO guys, like one of the most professional UFO investigators that walks the earth. And then you've got a kid who's freshly 5 who was out there documenting. He's interested in it. He's got an interest. So Stan, what do you think about those? If you could see them.
So could you see those, Stan?
I just got on here again. I'm watching. Yeah,
he's watching it. He's watching it.
Part of it, anyhow.
He's watching it.
I just got on here again. I'm watching. Yeah, he's watching it. He's part of it, anyhow.
I can't.
Very interesting. It's moving at a pretty good speed.
It's moving. Yeah. Whatever it is moving.
And it has the black ring.
And I've seen, I received quite a lot of videos and pictures even this last year. And I've seen very similar type of videos coming in.
Mm-hmm.
And that was on thermal. So that white object was hot and it had a black ring that was cold around it.
Yeah, that's a thermal. So it was in white hot mode, obviously. And, you've got the white heat center, and then you've got that black ring around the outside. It's something. I don't know what it is. I mean, we'll definitely have to, keep looking at it. Eyes in the Woods says that's a good question. What keeps Stan up at night? Shows like this. I'd say that's probably a good answer.
No, we couldn't see that with our eyes. It was only visible on thermal. It was a crystal clear night, though. Beautiful, cold, crystal clear night.
That's cool. That's really cool. Well, Stan, you've mentioned you don't think we're going to get anything here on the 9th. And we're probably not. It's probably going to be stuff that we already know. I mean, everybody else might get something to.
Well, I'm interested about Vandenberg.
You know, yeah, the Vandenberg
we're gonna
case.
Get more details about Vandenberg.
If we get more details about Vandenberg, like Joe's saying, I think that'll be interesting enough. But regardless of all that, there seems to be this consensus among researchers that things have changed to some degree. Would you agree to that at this point, or do you think are we just looking for patterns, and more people are looking up at the sky, basically? Like, do you think has been an increase, or is this just, more people looking?
Well, it's a complex question.
Yeah.
I think there's more and more people are much more open-minded to these different anomalies that are occurring. There's more and more people talking about them. At least we're talking about the case, but a lot of them don't want to go public with their names and identities for various reasons. I understand that as well.
Right.
Now the fact that you got the Aero office in the Pentagon taking reports more seriously, you've got these Pentagon whistleblowers that are coming forward and releasing some interesting information. It's definitely opening the doors more and more a little bit at a time. And I think it's going to take a while, but I think, once again, what we're dealing with is so complex that it's not going to happen in my lifetime, and I'm sure many others, but someday we're going to know a lot more about what we're dealing with. Right now, it is far beyond our present scientific understanding.
I can't disagree with that. How about you, Joe?
Oh, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. We're dealing with something that's millennia ahead of us.
Yeah, I would say millennia ahead of us. Yeah, I think that's probably a good way of putting that, Joe. It's definitely something different. Folks, it's about that time. Let's get your last round of questions in here, and let's make them kind of quick. And everybody, let's thank this man for coming on again. We like to get him back on here at least once a year to update us on what's going on. And I swear, I'm not kidding. Every time you come, it seems like there's always something big that's either happened or it's just getting ready to. Isn't that right, Joe?
Yeah, the last time he was here, we had the hearings.
The hearings, yeah.
And we're right on the cusp of them again.
Yeah, and what you don't know is that, Stan knows this, but he was supposed to be on last week, but I was on vacation, so we had to postpone it to this week. And that was completely, that's random. We didn't really plan on that. So, it just happens to be next week's the hearings. So very strange.
And again, what we talked about tonight, we didn't begin to talk about the sightings going on even in recent weeks and months. Right. There are so much activity going on. Interestingly, in the last several months, there have been reports of a large, solid, not light, solid triangular objects hovering in beautiful afternoons on busy Route 30 outside of Greensburg, where I live. And they generally only last for a short time and then they disappear. But over the last several years, different witnesses along that same corridor have seen large, again, tic-tac type objects, long cylindrical, wingless things hovering and just disappearing. Other people have seen them in the same area. Why, we don't know, but it's going on. We've had reports outside of Pittsburgh in the Irwin, North Huntington area, a big big cylindrical objects hovering over business areas, suburbs of Pittsburgh, other areas as well. And yes, we have some pictures of them. And it's just fascinating what's going on out there.
Oh, it absolutely is. I mean, thank you, Keller. Fascinating right there too. You
appreciate you, Keller.
Just wait till you see what's coming. It's all going to be good. You're going to really enjoy it. Every one of you. Stan, absolutely an incredible show. Where are you going to be next? What's going on? You got any new projects coming up? Anything like that?
Oh, there's always new projects, and there's some interesting things in the works. I'm sure you'll be hearing about in the months ahead. And but I have quite a number of events still planned the rest of the year. I know I'm speaking at our local library a week from Saturday in Greensburg. They generally get a big crowd. Cool. I'll be at the Derry, PA, right in the middle of the Chestnut Ridge area there. A lot of sightings of Derry, Burroughs, it's railroads, but kind of railroad Bigfoot days now for 2 days. It's on my website under upcoming events. The website, by the way, is stangordon.info. It's GORDON.info. Information's on there. There's sightings, a lot of interesting reports, and ways to contact me is on there. Books are all available on Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com, but people can reach me by way of phone or email.
Absolutely amazing. I'll make sure that we put your address on there like we always do. I think we're going to make this into an actual podcast version because you've definitely filled in a lot of blanks. You answered a lot of questions on this, and I think this was going to go out to a much broader audience. Our YouTube is, it's still growing, but those folks who you may not know it or not, but we're over way over 100,000 downloads out there.
Oh God. And our audience, our weekly, when we were doing weekly downloads, we were over.
Ron, I'll give you one more fascinating, interesting detail that a lot of people have never heard about before we close out. You got a few more minutes?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this is something that's very rarely reported, especially in Pennsylvania, this part of the country. Apparently, historically, it's much more common out in the Pacific Northwest and other parts of the country. But anyhow, there are some people who are reluctant to talk about it. Some people swear that Bigfoot has tried to telepathically communicate with them.
Yep.
And I only have a very few number of these reports from Pennsylvania, but of the reports I have and the people I've met, I believe these people are telling the truth. But there was one really interesting incident happened because I was a witness to it. This was during the mid-1980s along the Chestnut Ridge between Derry and Latrobe. And my team had been called out by some of the people who owned homes in the area at the bottom of the ridge. This huge hairy creature was coming down from the top of the ridge and scaring the animals in the area. So my team went out there, and there was a group of maybe 5-6 people got there, and they were telling us about some of these things and what they have seen, the close range of Bigfoot, very close to their homes. And one of them very reluctantly said to me at the time, I don't know how to explain this. I don't know why it's happening, but it seems like at times this thing tries to mentally communicate with me. While we were there, this person says, this thing is trying to communicate with me right now, and it's telling me that tomorrow morning, early the next morning, about 15 miles from here in Indiana County, over the town of Homer City. So we're in Westmoreland County. Homer City is where the big power station was. I say was because it was just recently decommissioned. This is going to be another kind of a plant, a gas plant. But there have been many, many sightings in that area with cryptids and UFOs for years and years ever since. But anyhow, goes on to say that tomorrow morning there'll be this unusual UFO incident over Homer City. And early the next morning, there were multiple reports from locals that there was this strange sound, like something big they couldn't see was hovering right over Homer City, and they actually called the fire department out. So how do you explain that one?
Wow. And we do have a couple minutes, and you put yourself right into this. So I'm going to address this because we get a lot of people who do have this question from time to time. Can you briefly go over some of the reports of those skyquakes and strange booms that you guys get up there? I mean, I know some you can explain, obviously, but
that don't involve dynamite.
Yeah, exactly. So I know that some of these things are kind of strange, and they seem to be all around up there more than down here.
Well, you'd be surprised how many reports of mystery booms occur all over the country.
Yeah.
I mean, if you go on in the internet, you'd be amazed how many cities and towns report these things. The problem is they're very hard to track down in a lot of cases. And I mean, yeah, back in the 60s, we called them skyquakes. Now it's just, mystery booms, things like that. And there are different explanations. I mean, unfortunately, especially in this area, some people are using tannerite ammunition, and if they use more than they're supposedly allowed to, it can create some very large blasts in the area. And we know for sure sometimes it turns out to be tannerite. So you can explain that. On a rare occasion, you'll have a fireball meteor, a bolide go across the sky that can create a sonic boom. Have we had those in Pennsylvania even in recent years? Yes, we have. So that sometimes explains things. It's very rare for military aircraft, especially in these areas, to create a sonic boom. So that's highly unlikely that's anything connected with these kind of reports. And but interestingly, there has been some cases where homes are shaken many miles away, and animals are disturbed, things like that. And sometimes they happen in areas where some of this other phenomena is occurring. There's not enough data to really understand the connection there. There's a possibility. I'm not saying directly with UFO or UAP sightings, but with some of the other anomalous events, there's a possibility there's some association. And I've heard this around the country as well from other researchers and witnesses who've talked about this type of thing happening as well. So it's interesting, but it's very hard to really determine because there's not a lot of data. And a lot of these is almost impossible to track down, especially if this is something that's very localized and it's not felt over a widespread area. Then, there's quite often there's explanations if it was more localized.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I mean, we get them every now and again, but I know that almost every time I'm reading your reports there, it seems like there's just a slew of them up your way, which is just, it's amazing, folks.
Well, I was going to say there's even been reports in recent weeks from different areas, but once again, there's not a lot of data and they're more localized. So we keep records of it, but unless we can get some good information, it's hard to really figure out what it might be.
Yep. I agree with that one. Everybody, I'd like to just literally thank you guys for coming out and hanging out with us tonight. I hope you got your questions. I mean, there was so many questions. I hope everybody
we got all the questions.
Yeah, we got all the questions answered. All right, good. That was the thing I was worried about. We did it, and we learned some new stuff, got some new cases, and we got some new data. So it's going to be an amazing show, especially when I get it transferred over, like I said, to podcast, because we're going to let the world hear this one. Like, like I said, over 100,000, way over 100,000 downloads out there on podcasts. So it's going to go out. Stan, we're going to get you back in here again. You know that. And probably, we'll probably have something for you to look at that point, or, we'll be working together, I'm sure, at before any of that happens. But
okay, I'm sure we'll be in touch quite a bit. I'll be glad to come back on. Generally, probably February, March, I'll be putting out a synopsis of some of the stranger cases from Pennsylvania, because what you see on the website is just a sampling of the reports that come in. There are so many, and I don't post them all right away because sometimes I want to see a certain case if other people will confirm what was being seen.
Same thing we do as far as it goes with a lot of our data. That's why you probably get to see it before anybody else. But huge thank you for coming on the show, my friend, and we will definitely be reaching out again to get the next update into the high strangeness, because I don't see it getting any more normal. Let's put it that way.
No, it's getting stranger and stranger, and it's not just in one area. It's all over the country. I'm hearing more and more reports, and again, out of the country as well.
Yeah.
And it's very fascinating, and it's something that really needs to be looked into. And I hope maybe with a new hearing that somebody will bring up about some of these other anomalies, especially about the low-level orbs.
Absolutely, because this is not just about physical spacecraft, UFOs, and extraterrestrials. It's about something that's just beyond weird, is pretty much what we've come up with at this point.
That's right. Well, thanks again for having me on the program.
Absolutely, sir.
Stan, it's been awesome having you. We appreciate you every time you're on. Maybe one day we'll get my audio fixed where we can all hear each other.
Yeah, one day we'll get it where Joe can hear everything, and everybody will be able to hear everybody, and it'll be a fantastic show. But we'll work on that for the next time. All right, there we go.
Well, everybody, thanks for hanging out with us tonight. This has been an awesome show. You got to hear some new accounts from Stan that we haven't covered previously on the show. We actually made it an entire show front to back without having to do any kind of comparison between the Kecksburg crash and the Diaglock. Holy crap.
No one asked the question.
They didn't. This is the first time in 5 years that we've been having
amazing.
Thank
you guys.
That didn't happen. You
guys
are great. You guys are great. And
whoop, button.
So thank you. And remember, stay wild and weird, everybody.
Hey, before you do that, why don't you tell them what's going to be happening here? Because we're going to be places.
That's right. We'll run the breakdown. Not yet.
We're going to be places, folks. And there is this map I pulled up for you, Joe. That is our recent metrics as far as the podcast goes.
Without having active podcasts up for the last year,
right?
This is amazing.
Isn't that crazy?
Those are great numbers for not producing an actual podcast.
Yeah.
I'll take it, because those numbers used to read 6 and 10s and thousands. We used to average around 10,000 a week, if not a little bit more.
Now this is just 90 days is all you're seeing right here.
Yeah.
So there is, you can see the 30 days. Sorry, this is 30 days.
That crowd in Australia is still listening. We appreciate you guys.
And there's more of them.
In Asia, we've got somebody in Asia is listening to us.
And they told their friends. And they told their friends, right? But take a look here at our top cities, Joseph.
Top cities will be Lexington, Kentucky, which is just our home away from home. It's always that. Buchanan, West Virginia, Columbus, Ohio, Ashburn, Virginia, Pittsburgh, PA, Frankfurt in Germany, and Cincinnati, Ohio, Dayton, Ohio, and Chicago, Illinois.
I've got a feeling that PA is probably going to be up there after this episode goes up.
I would say so.
I would say
so.
I would think so.
Guys, remember, we do have some stuff going on. We are going to be speaking at the Bigfoot Festival on the 13th in Carter County, Kentucky. It's going to be a great time. We're going to be going over a bunch of data, showing some stuff. We're going to be hanging out there. So come hang out with us. That's going to be in Olive Hill at the train depot.
Olive Hill, Bigfoot Festival.
Come hang out with us. It's going to be a good time. Then after that, we are going to be making an appearance at the Mothman Festival, of course, but we're speaking. We're going to be going over all of our Point Pleasant data that we recorded over the last few years and talking about how, the phenomena never slowed down. It didn't even take a break. It was still rolling after 1966. Coverage just quit and the attention went elsewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, it absolutely did. And, there's something still down there. I'll just, spoiler alert, there's something still down there. And if you go down and interrogate a big cup, you'll figure it out too. Right, Joe?
That's right. We're also going to be at Cryptid Con. Who else is going to be at Cryptid Con? This guy, Eric Bard, the lead scientist for Skinwalker Ranch. And then you are also going to have Tom Winterton, the superintendent for Skinwalker Ranch. If you guys got to be there last year, Tom was a great guy. He spent some time with us.
Dude, and I'm going to tell you what, Tom is way more than just a superintendent at this point.
Oh yeah,
I mean he's doing stuff. He's
way more involved than just a
way more involved. Yeah. He's awesome guy. If you get to meet him,
we're also going to be doing a presentation as well. So that means you're going to have Skinwalker Ranch and Trash Panda Farms under one roof. The world might implode.
You could.
You guys definitely want to check that out.
Open a wormhole.
Lexington. It's going to be a blast. Then next week, I think, right? Next week?
Yeah.
No. It's a month.
Yes,
sorry.
Yeah, it's October. Sorry. Because remember the little dot dash thing they did? That was 10/7's what that was.
The long-awaited lost contact with Dewey the Deucer Edwards from Small Town Monsters is finally going to be available. I highly recommend pre-ordering this as soon as you can.
Yeah, I mean, he did a lot of research out there. They documented it, and it's going to be pretty fantastic. So, it's been a long time coming, but sometimes that means it's really, really good. Trust me. Speaking of really, really good, I know our stuff's a long time coming, but trust me, there's good things coming on the horizon. You just don't even know yet. Probably things that we haven't even been able to see yet or measure in any way, shape, or form just yet, but we will.
But we will be able to, rest assured. We're even in talks with some other mega big.
That's all we're going to say
right now. That's all you're going to get at the moment.
Yep. Can't talk about it anymore.
It'll be cool.
It'll be good.
So stay wild and weird, everybody. And until next time, we will see you
next week.
Eastern. here.
Next week, In Focus. I promise. We're going to do In Focus next week.
And we'll show the other 2 videos that Rowan got to. So I saved a couple back for In Focus.
Yeah, stuff I can see from ours as well. So we've got some good stuff. You guys got anything? Send it in. Everybody's going to look at it. Everybody's going to watch it right here live. So, Joe, take us out.
Thanks, everybody. We appreciate you. Stay wild and weird.